Delaware County's only live television newscast from Ball State University's Unified Media Newsroom. You're watching NewsLink Indiana Midday.
Welcome to NewsLink Indiana Midday. I'm Yaxuan Zhuang. Months after legislation forcing the Justice Department to release its Jeffrey Epstein case files, the House passed it will formally pass the bill to the Senate this morning, where it's already won a unanimous agreement to pass. The bill will be sent to President Donald Trump's desk for his signature today. Melville Gonzalez reports on the dramatic shift to release the Epstein files after months of GOP infighting.
First in the House.
On this vote, the yeas are 427, the nays are 1.
Then, under unanimous consent in the Senate.
The Senate has now passed the Epstein bill as soon as it comes over from the House.
The bipartisan bill forcing the Justice Department to release all of its case files tied to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein garnered near unanimous approval from both chambers of Congress. Louisiana Republican Representative Clay Higgins was the only lawmaker to vote against the bill in the House, saying the legislation was written in a way that might harm innocent people. Many of the Epstein survivors disagree.
We were victimized as children and failed repeatedly by the very system that was supposed to protect us. That's why we stand here today, to demand justice and accountability, not just for Epstein and his crimes, but for every predator and every enabler who participates in or protects abusers.
GOP Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene joined survivors on Tuesday, pushing back against President Donald Trump's attacks after he called her a traitor for supporting the Epstein files vote.
I want to see every single name released so that these women don't have to live in fear and intimidation, which is something I've had a small taste of in just the past few days.
The next step for the Epstein bill is a signature from Trump. I'm Maribel Gonzalez reporting.
It's important to note that the president could change his mind and choose to veto the bill, which would then require a two-thirds vote to override the president's veto. He could also decide not to act on the bill, allowing it to become law without his signature. Republican Governor Greg Abbott of Texas has designated one of the nation's largest Muslim advocacy groups as a terrorist organization. Tuesday, Abbott said that the Concern on American Islamic Relations, known as CARE, has direct ties to Hamas, which the U.S. has designated as a terrorist group. Abbott said he wants to prohibit the organization from buying land. He also says the move will authorize the state attorney general to use the legal system to shut the group down in Texas. CARE called Abbott's declaration defamatory and said Abbott has no authority to make such a designation. In his declaration, the governor also designated the Muslim Brotherhood as a terror organization. The stage is set for what could be a cold and snowy December, at least in some of the United States. A weekend polar vortex will be responsible for the dramatic weather pattern change, pushing frigid Arctic air south. It could be one of the earliest significant polar vortex disruptions ever recorded. Scientists say it's still too difficult to predict exactly where the polar vortex will deliver its icy blast. Let's take a look at today's NewsLink Indiana weather. These are the conditions right now. It's 43 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Expect cloudy skies today with a high in the upper 40s to near 50. Highs will stay in the 50s for much of the 7 days forecast, and the next change chance of rain is Friday. The Witches of Wicked had a bit of magic behind their singing performances. Rick Damogiller introduces us to the singing coach behind the big screen musical.
For Wicked fans, perhaps you should pay attention to this man behind the curtain.
I'm a vocal coach and I'm a voice teacher, so I really train people how to sing and speak. We do a lot of speaking too, but mostly singing.
Eric Vitro has worked with Ariana Grande for many years and began prepping her for the role of Glinda before she even auditioned.
For Wicked, Ariana really wanted it to sound authentic to what Glinda should sound like, which is pretty operatic. And she had not sung that way before. She had all the high notes. She already could sing them. Everyone knows she has those super high whistle register notes. And I've known her since she was about 13 years old, 13, 14. We've been working together. So I knew she had all the notes. But what this was all about, our working experience for Wicked, was about training her voice to sound more operatic, like a legit Broadway soprano.
That people come into our lives for a reason.
We worked for months together before the audition and then months after the audition once she got the part, just because she wanted it to be there at moment's notice. And I think she could probably still to this day wake up in the middle of the night and hit a high C like Linda, because it's so in her voice now.
Because I knew you. Think of what we could do.
In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damogella.
There is a new home for Muncie families who urgently need one, at least temporarily, NewsLink Indiana's Abby Urban reports.
The Center Township trustees have opened a new family shelter in Muncie. Welcome to Lone Pine Lodge.
I named it Lone Pine Lodge because I wanted the children to be able to say, I'm at the lodge, or I'm going to the lodge. I'm not going to a shelter, or I'm going to a mission. I wanted it to be exciting for them.
In collaboration with the Muncie Mission, A Better Way, and other local nonprofits, the trustees created the lodge. Located on East Main Street, it provides a space for families in any and all situations. A place of hope in a time where it is needed most.
One of the things I consistently ran into trouble with at the hub was finding shelter for families who came in seeking assistance. I would call shelters throughout the state trying to find an open spot, and I could never find anywhere that didn't have a waiting list.
The lodge can fit between 4 to 6 families at a time for a 90-day stay. Along with housing, families will be offered case management, help getting food stamps, and other resources to get them back on their feet. Although they started building the space a year and a half ago, Walker knew that her connection to it was something bigger.
My dad was a trustee, and so that was kind of instilled in me and what we do. I can remember my dad coming home and someone getting denied because it was over the guidelines or whatever for food, and Dad would come home and take food out of our cabinets to take them to them. And I think that's just what it's about, is kindness and helping people.
This project is a newer one for the trustees. Even though creating the lodge has been a long journey, it's one that's emphasized community and kindness always.
And sometimes people just need just a hand. And if you give them that hand up, they're going to be fine. It's not a hand out, it's a hand up. You're just helping them.
In Muncie, Abby Urban, NewsLink, Indiana.
The Lone Pine Lodge will start accepting and placing families on December 1st. To help, you can donate hygiene products to the trustee's office. And that's your NewsLink webcast for today. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to join us tonight at 6:57 on Ball State PBS, and for news anywhere, anytime, go to cardinalmediabsu.com.